Ramadan Mubarak, everyone. Welcome to Cup of Chai. This podcast is being recorded on April 25th, 2020. Today's podcast has a special episode with a special guest. Our guest here today is Enes Kanter, who is currently playing for the Boston Celtics in the NBA. And I'm also with Matthew, who'll be talking about the evolution of basketball, and Adil, who'll be talking about the mental health in the NBA with Enes Kanter. Hello, Enes. Welcome.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Fine. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
So, I have a couple questions for you.
Go ahead.
Uh, my first question is before the season started, the Celtics weren't getting much chance, but throughout the season, the performance of your team significantly increased, especially Jason Tatum. So I want to ask you, how did you and your team achieve the success throughout the season, and how far do you think you would have gone in the playoffs if it were actually played?
So I think, after we losing, Al Horford and Kyrie Irving, there was so many people out there and said, oh, okay, they lost two of their best players, but now they're going to, they're going to struggle big time. So, and then, you know what? We were just laughing in a locker room, I remember, and we watched the clip of what the haters, I'll call it haters, the haters was saying about our team, about our players, how they have no, trust or believe in us. And then I feel like the one thing, if you're a good team, the most important thing you need to do is, you know, just don't get distracted from outside voices. There's gonna be so much, the media, this and that. Only you gotta focus on us. You gotta focus on yourself. So I think the one thing we really was focusing on us was the chemistry. I feel like you can be so good individually, you can be a really good basketball player and you can score 20 or 30 on every given night. But like the question you need to ask yourself is, you know, how can we build this team chemistry and how can we move forward with this, the chemistry going? So I think that was the main focus, because like the better friends we become, the better teammates we're going to be. And it's going to really affect us on the court. So like I remember beginning of the season, like we were like one of the top team on East, and then everybody was like, "Oh, they're just lucky. They're just playing against like some like average team, so they're not really that good." But we really didn't care, and we were just keep playing and playing and playing hard. But I remember after the All-Star break, they're like, okay, they really have a really good chance to go out there and maybe win a championship and maybe win a ring end of the season. But I actually have this really good quote that I love. It it says haters gonna hate. So one thing you need to do is, man, just focus on your team because those people out there just sitting there, mom's basement and just being tweeting and talking trash and all that stuff. So like all you gotta do is just focus on what's in front of you. So for us, it was just funny that how much we got better. I mean, obviously when you play guys like, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, like those people are like make themselves better and make everybody else better around them. I'm not just talking about the team. I'm talking about like the organization. I'm talking about like the city, the state. So like it was fun to see how haters' reaction just changed throughout the season. But you asked me the question that if the playoff continues, we had a real shot or not. So I'll just say this. We still don't know if the season going to continue or not. So we actually still thinking that if the season continues, I think we're gonna play the playoffs with, I guess, no fans. But yeah, we believe in us. I feel like we have a really good shot, really good chance to go out there and win a championship. So it's gonna be interesting. So we all just sitting here and just waiting to hear from the commissioner. So if the NBA is gonna come back or not.
I see. Okay. I have another question. So my next question is: the Bleacher Report ranked you among the top 10 most influential people in sports culture back in 2018,
Mhm.
and especially for you using Twitter as a voice for human rights. and also you've decided to open up a school in Oklahoma. Like seeing here that you're very active in social issues, and I wanted to ask what you had to say on these matters.
It's like a lot of the NBA players, when they're done with their career, they want to look back, and most of them are thinking about one thing: oh, how many points I average, or how many rebounds I did, how many this or that I did. They care about stats a lot. But when I'm done with my career, I want to look back and ask myself a few questions. And how many people I inspired, especially the kids. How many, the hearts I touch, how many lives I have changed, I guess I could say that. But I think you play a basketball, but God put you in this situation for a reason. Um, and if you just play basketball and just be done with your career, I think it will be very selfish. So like if the God gave you this platform, right, you need to use it for good, for a good cause, for change others' life. So like for me, it was very, very important to just go out there and try to use my platform as much as I can to just bring voice some of the issues that we're having. I'm not just talking about the stuff in Turkey. I'm talking about like the struggles we are having in America and all over the world. If you call yourself a human rights activist, you cannot just be focused on one thing. So for me, it was very important whenever I see something going wrong. I just because I had a platform, I was trying to use this platform to be voice of all those innocent people out there who don't have a voice. So like I think what I was doing, what I'm doing still is bigger than basketball and bigger than sports. Like I said again, I don't want to be just known as a just, basketball player. I feel like, not just basketball players, but like if you have a platform, if you're an actor, if you're a singer, if you are, athlete, if you have a platform, period, you need to use it because there's so many people, especially so many kids out there is idolizing you and follow your footsteps. So you go out there, do something crazy. A lot of the youth, young generation, gonna think that is cool. But if you go out there and just do something good, give back to community, or do some some kind of like charity work, they are gonna follow your footsteps. So it's a big responsibility on your shoulder. The second thing is you asked me about the school. I feel like we have our world is struggling because of uneducated people. I feel like one of the most dangerous thing is just to having uneducated people around us. So I feel like, what? If we want a better and brighter future, we need to educate our youth because those kids are going to be our future. Those kids are going to be doctors, police, maybe president one day. So like for me, it was very important to just educate. I feel like the best investment what you can do in your life is it comes with education. So that's why Oklahoma gave me so much from day one. They opened their arm from day one, gave me a warm welcome. So for me, it was like, you know what, this is the least I can do for the city and the state that give me everything. And that's why I decided to open up a charter school in Oklahoma. And it's in a process of just because of this madness, this virus madness happening. I mean, obviously the process is a little slow right now, but I am very excited about it because yeah, I know it is good for our future.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we'll be moving on to Matthew, who will be talking about the evolution of basketball with Enes Kanter.
Yes. Hi, Enes. How are you?
How are you? I'm good, thanks.
I'm good too. I'm gonna be talking about a little history of the basketball, the sport itself, NBA, and how NBA evolved to how it is right now. I know you know most things about NBA and how basketball started up, but
Mhm.
just for our viewers' sake, I want to talk about how basketball started off first.
Okay.
So, if we go back in history, which that's my job, we look at James Naismith, fellow who was a 30-year-old graduate student in Springfield, Massachusetts. He started basketball because in between their football games, him and his teammates they would be chilling. They would be doing other sports, and he wanted to create a game that would be fun to play during these break times. He got himself a fruit basket and a volleyball, and he put the fruit basket on top of a wall, like a surface that's higher than the ground. And they started throwing the ball into the basket and they formed two teams. And then from there, with his idea, he started creating rules for the game. And that's how basketball was invented in the year 1891. Uh, that's very beautiful how it starts off with a fruit basket. It starts off with relatively nothing, and now it's something so huge. And from there on, I'm going to be quick with this. I'm going to go into the process of how NBA evolved. So, coming straight to the 1980s, or they call it the 80s era, the Showtime era, the Lakers and Celtics rivalry, the two giants going head to head, two different styles. And I want to talk about how in the 80s, the Lakers had a fast paced game, and the Celtics had a more strategic style of the game, the basketball, and they had Larry Bird as one of the leading players in the game. And I always remember from my childhood, I'm a huge Lakers fan. I grew up in LA, and I remember that whole Celtics Lakers rivalry. It was so huge, and um, I didn't really know it stems from the 80s, which is really nice to know after I did a few research about this and how Larry Bird is such a huge name in the history of basketball. He's a legend. And from there on, that culture of competition, the two rivalries, East and West, that whole idea drifted on. And then in the 90s, we see the legend himself, Michael Jordan, come into play. America wins an Olympic gold medal. NBA and the basketball itself becomes an internationally recognized sport, and other countries start adapting NBA into their country. They start adapting the sport beforehand as well. And Michael Jordan and the American team win the gold medal. And Michael Jordan becomes the face of the sport, literally. And uh, we see him even after basketball with his shoe brand, with many other things, how he's still relevant. Moving on from there, we go into the mid 2000s and we see the Steve Nash, the Phoenix Suns, and how they start using more, they start shooting more 3 points, 3 pointers. And we see how Steve Nash is the leading figure in that style of game with the Phoenix Suns. And during those times, we see an even faster paced game, and NBA starts already is on the rise with the fan base growing, internationally recognized already. It's a growing sport. It keeps growing, but this fast paced game, this 7 seconds or less style of play brings more fans in because the fans, the people in America, they're so used to those slow paced games like soccer. American football, you can say, is kind of faster, but it's also slower when you compare it to NBA and basketball. You get baseball. You know, these are relatively golf, slow paced games. But NBA with this style, with the style that Phoenix Suns pushes even harder during the mid 2000s, becomes this fast paced game which fans love to watch. And then after that, we go into the mid 2010s, and then you get the modern era basketball, the Stephen Currys, the Golden State Warriors, and you get great legends for the pick and roll like Durant and Stephen Curry, and that those are the times that you yourself start going into NBA and you play in multiple teams as well. And this is just a brief history of how the NBA, how basketball started, and then how it became the NBA and evolved from there on. Because many people may not know this. I myself didn't know that. I always thought basketball was a fast-paced game. Sorry, it was a fast-paced game that it changes like every minute. You never know which team's gonna really win. There's so much that goes into it. But I didn't know it just started to become such a fast-paced game, especially with the three-pointers. Because when you're relatively new to the game, you would think the three-pointers are the most important part of the game and it should be used the most. But in the past, if you compare it to now, it was used very little. It was risky to use. This also changes how players are drafted, how the image of players change, how players that are relatively short but fast are used more strategically in the gameplays, and so on. Now I want to move on to my questions for you, Enes. And my first question is, we get this question a lot in history. So if you're a historian, they ask you this question a lot. Which era in history would you want to live in?
Wow.
I get that question a
Yeah.
lot. And I changed that into a basketball style question. And I want to ask you, which era in basketball history and NBA
Right.
history would you want it to
Got it.
play?
What an amazing information you just give up for our listeners. So some of the information you just give, I didn't even know. But I think what you just said, how the basketball invented, and then you talk about the 80s. I know you talk about, like the most. I'm talking about Hakeem. I'm talking about, just Moses Malone and all that stuff. But I think, game of basketball, like you said, has changed a lot, really a lot. Because if you look at like back in the 80s, 90s, especially 20s, it's like game of basketball was back to basketball. It was back to back. There was so many back to basket players in the league. It was like a little more slow pace. But now it's like with what you said, what you just said, just Steve Nash, and especially the Golden State. I don't want to say they ruined the league, but they definitely changed the league a lot. I go to a lot of basketball camps, but now all the kids they all want to do go 3-point shot and the pass game. But it's like if I had to pick, I will definitely try to would love to play it in '90s because just because the NBA changed a lot. You don't see many back to basket players anymore. You don't see many big men out there anymore. It is all about the small ball. Like what Houston Rocket is doing, what Golden State is doing, what some of the actually teams are slowly started to change their team. But 80s and 90s, man, the game was more tougher, and that there was so many other strong player out there. But now you breathe on a guy, the ref calls you a foul, and you touch the guy, the ref gives you a call, whatever. But like before, 80s and 90s was different, definitely different era because like there was so many fist fights and they were just only was get a foul, but now you're like you push a guy, you get ejected. So I feel like game of basketball changed definitely because like the more kids are watching it now, more fans are watching it now. They want NBA players to be idle, obviously, but like it's definitely become softer. NBA definitely became way softer. But if I had to pick, I would definitely go with either 80s or and 90s, especially 90s when talking about Larry and Magic and Jordan and all this Kareem and all this players, especially after uh, like you said, American national team won the Olympic gold medal. They called it the Dream Team, but NBA just American basketball just took off. And Michael Jordan, like you said, I met him probably like 9 years ago. He was at one point he was the most famous human being on earth. So like for me it was just amazing to just meet him. It was definitely an honor. But answering your question, definitely either 80s or 90s, maybe more 90s.
Yeah. And I know you're a huge Lakers fan. So does that being a fan of Lakers also affect that question?
I think I actually grown up watching the Lakers. I'm talking about like Kobe and
Yeah.
Shaq times because I know the Celtics. If the Celtics fans listen to this, they might get mad. But like I did grow up as a Lakers fan because that was the only team I was watching. Obviously, well, I grew up in Turkey, and because of the time difference, my mom especially never let me wake up that early because I had to school the next day. So like I was watching the highlights the next day and stuff. So and then you watching Kobe and Shaq, they were just
Yeah.
different beasts, different animals. But it was so I grew up as a Lakers fan, and actually my dream was to become a Lakers, but now I'm playing against their rivalry
Yeah.
Celtics. So it's fun. It's
Yeah.
definitely fun.
That's really nice. Thank you for that answer. Now I'm moving on to my second question. Where do you see NBA or the sport of basketball in the next 5 years? Do you think the game will keep evolving like it is, or will it settle down with this fast-paced three-point gameplay?
I think more so like back in the day, like a few years ago, not many big men was shooting threes. But now, look you look at this year, especially this year, and I think going forward, I think everyone gonna be able to shoot threes. It is all about fundamental now. It is all about three-point shot, three-point shot. It is all about, pick and roll games and stuff. So like, for me, I think in 5 years for sure is going to change a lot. I feel like more the NBA will go even more smaller. Because like, you think about basketball is like if you think about a basketball player, the first thing comes to my mind is like a huge giant human
Yeah,
beings, right? But now I feel like in 5 years it's gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller.
I see. Yeah, I can see that happening too. Okay, that's those were my questions, and that was the history, a short history of basketball. Thank you for your answers, Enes. Now I will pass it on to Adil, who will talk about mental health in the NBA.
Perfect.
Hello, Enes. I want to welcome you one more time. How is everything?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate it.
So for today, I think the thought process for me today started with the day that NBA got suspended during these unprecedented times
Right.
for because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I remember exactly what we were doing in the house. It was the halftime for the Mavericks and Nuggets game,
Hmm.
and then we watched that game until the end. But then while we were watching, I was thinking, when is the next time I'm going to be able to watch the NBA?
Right.
And while thinking about that, as a fan, we know how much devastating that was for us.
Hmm.
But then I think we want to know how, from the player's perspective, as a player,
Right.
how did that feel for you when we first heard about Rudy Gobert, and then hours later the NBA was suspended for up to a month, and then and we want to kind of ask you, what was the talk between the team in the locker room, or how did you feel first of all?
I think I remember we played against Indiana Pacers. We won that game. And then we took off, went to Milwaukee Bucks because the next day we had a game against Milwaukee Bucks, and we are in a hotel like every road trip, and it's funny because I was actually watching that game too, the Nuggets against the Mavericks, because it was on national TV. I can't remember, it was either like ESPN or TNT or ABC. I can't
ESPN,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, it was in ESPN. So like I'm watching this, right, and the same time the Jazz was playing against Oklahoma City Thunder, and I played against both teams before. So like one of the players called me actually, or from Oklahoma City. I'm like, dude, like you have a game, right? He's like, no, 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 our game just got canceled. I'm like, what do you mean just got canceled? He said, I think one of the Jazz players have the virus. I think it's Rudy Gobert. I'm like, no way. So like for me, I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is really like this is something very serious. But and then I talked to him a little bit. He told me actually I didn't. Not many people know this, but like the Thunder player said, they actually want us to go back to our locker room, just wash, take every our jersey, wash our clothes, this and that. So I'm like, wow, this is like literally getting serious. And then security cleared the whole arena. Then I was watching that game, what you were watching, and I heard that like it was like a breaking news that NBA suspended. I'm like, wow. So I'm thinking about like we have a game the next day. What are we gonna do? So and then I turned on CNN, and then the first thing they were talking about the NBA, and I went up I went up to my trainer's room and we talked a little bit. They said, yeah, we have no idea what's going to happen. And I think at that point we know there was something serious coming, but we still didn't know how serious it was. So I was actually downstairs playing pool with my friends and stuff. We're just hanging out and stuff. But and then I saw the Bucks coach, Milwaukee Bucks coach. I'm like, okay, in our hotel, it never happens. And I'm like, okay, this is something very seriously going on. And the coach texted us, and then we actually had to leave, going back to Boston, and we didn't play the game. And there was so much media around us. They were just wanted to talk to us, get a quote or get a comment from us, but we really didn't. We couldn't because like we don't know what is going to happen. So we went back to Boston. We actually stayed at home around like 2 days, and then all of us got tested, and they said till you have 14 days to stay at home and quarantine, and just wait, see what happens. So and then I remember in 14 days, well, actually, it was pretty sad because one of our team members, Marcus Smart, got positive for COVID-19, and we were just all felt, very sad for him because it's like one of our brothers. So, and then like for at that point, we had no idea what was gonna. Everyone was so confused, the whole NBA, and then you see like the other major leagues just started to cancel, not cancel, sorry, suspend it. And you and not just in America, all over the world, it just started to happen. I'm like, okay, this is way bigger than sports and way bigger than basketball. So just let's focus on that right now. Let's focus on getting better. So and after we got tested, we waited around like 14 days, and then the team said, you guys can travel if you want, but if you guys want to stay in Boston, you guys can stay in Boston. Um, for at that point, because like Rudy was actually one of my really good friends because I played with him. We were on the same team together, but a lot of people were just like they were hating on him. But he was actually, if he didn't test it positive, right? If he didn't test it positive, NBA was going to suspend it even like late, probably in like after 4 or 5 days, what it supposed should be. But I feel like a lot of people hated on him, but like if he didn't test it positive, I'm sure so many people was going to test it positive because NBA was gonna the suspend was going to be delayed. So anyway, I think for me, all I can do right now pray for Rudy and whoever just affected because so many other like Kevin Durant or so many other players that tested positive, they're doing good for now. But I feel like you asked me about the mental side of this thing. It's tough because I really don't care about the basketball side right now. All I care about how can we get through this together because there's something way bigger than going on in basketball and our world is experiencing it like never experienced before. So like for me, let's get through this together because people are losing their life, losing their loved ones, losing their businesses, and losing their everything they got. So for me, I'm like, you know what, NBA, I don't know if NBA gonna start or not, but right now our focus should be getting people better.
Wow, thank you for that perspective, Enes. Because as fans, we so many times we ask the question of the player's perspective and the team's perspective, and
Right.
thank you for that. And actually, you mentioned something that I wanted to get into, and next, and the key word there was together, and the NBA actually, for those of you that may not be aware, is offering tremendous efforts on handling mental health and emotional wellness through the tough times, and they're doing this under NBA Together, and they're offering great sports to youth, to parents, and to the public under the project of Mind Health, and again, NBA is embracing this and keeping its staff and its players together, and we know what they're offering to us as fans or to the public. But again, from there, we want to know again what they're offering to the players, and we want to know your perspective. So what kind of resources are available to you through the NBA or even your team, perhaps as the Celtics organizations? How are they supporting you through this?
I think one thing we're really focusing on is us again because we still don't know if NBA is going to continue or not, right? But you still want to like I talked about like the beginning of the conversation about the team chemistry. So we still trying to build our team chemistry. Obviously, we cannot really go hang out or go see each other, but we actually have this um the Zoom conferences every Wednesday, and we are actually inviting one of the celebrity that is giving us some inspirational talk. Like the last one, the last three of them was I feel like was so cool. LL Cool J just came to talk to us. Mark Wahlberg, Ken Jeong, you guys know it, aka Mr. Chow, Hangover. But like it's just so nice to see that my teammates are doing well, the coaches are doing well, or like their families doing well. So it just makes you feel, I mean, feel better inside because those people, because you see them so much, those people are, players are becoming your brothers. So the other thing, I think NBA is doing really well. We have these chapels. I think if you're feeling, any kind of like down on yourself, or if you're feeling any, weaknesses, we have this like chapel, and you don't have to attend it. I mean, it's not mandatory. it's optional. But every Tuesday we have these chapels that just we are praying for each other before we are praying for in our world for our world because like we I feel like it doesn't matter what religion you're in, it doesn't matter what your ethnicity or your skin color or you know your culture is. The most important thing in life is live your difference on a table and try to find what we have in common. And I always say it is, till Elon Musk or someone else find another planet to live, this world is what we have. So we need to make this work together. That's the key word, together. And like I said this before, our world is never experiencing anything like this before. But I feel like we should all come together, and it doesn't matter what religion you're in. We should pray because our world and people needs praying, or all the healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, and or people who are affected by this virus. So what NBA is doing an amazing job by building this team chemistry and mentally and also physically. Not many people know this, but I don't know if you're gonna ask me that question, but I'll answer it anyway. But we still have practice. No, I don't want to say practice, but we still have workouts like 3 times a week. So it's like we had these groups, and then there's 4 or 5 players in this group, and the strength coach actually called on us on FaceTime, and we work out for them around like 45 minutes. I'm talking about obviously we cannot go to any facility or a public gym, but we do the best we can to stay in shape in our house. I'm talking about like push-ups, sit-ups. I'm talking about squats or just any kind of stuff that you can lift with your body weight. So like we mentally and physically, I think NBA doing an amazing job to support their players and their coaches and the fans and workers.
Well, once again, thank you so much for that perspective, Enes. I think we love hearing we love hearing those words, and again, together is I think the key word here for all of us, like you said. For next, I actually have somewhat of a personal question, and I want to ask you about Ramadan. It just started yesterday,
Right,
and I want to know how you're planning on spending your Ramadan, and you're at home still. How's your day
right.
going?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little heartbroken because when you say Ramadan, right? Ramadan means getting together with friends and families and your loved ones and break bread together, share story with each other, or just the feel that holy month, feel that holiness. So like just because of all this like stuff's happening, right? It is impossible. And the other thing, the meaning of Ramadan is understand others, understanding each other, because we have we can be very blessed to be in this situation, especially like we have the food, clean water, we have opportunity to do pretty much everything. But like understanding what I mean by that is there's so many people out there suffering. There's so many the people out there, especially not just in America, all over the world, Africa or Asia or this and Europe, whatever. So like by fasting you understand others better. So like when they ask me that question, I'm like definitely a little heartbroken because I cannot, because Ramadan means giving back. Ramadan means giving back to your community and doing a lot of charity work. But just because all this stuff happens, it's impossible. So, but that's why I've been actually trying to do as much as Zoom conference as I can to just give positive energy to all those people out there, especially during this holy month. But what I'm doing is I'm definitely right now focusing on myself, because like this is like we always make excuses about how busy our schedule is, right? Oh, practices, workouts, games, or classes, or study, homework, this and that. But I feel like this is a really good time to invest in yourself, to invest in your future by reading books and maybe watch some documentary and try to get better. Not just sit on your Xbox or PlayStation, play video games all day, but like do something good for your future, so you can have a better and bright future. But so that's what I'm really focusing on, just learn about anything, learning about history, learn about maybe do like trying to get some new hobbies. I'm actually trying to learn how to cook and trying to play piano. That's actually two of my hobbies. But like I said again, it's I'm a little heartbroken, but I'm really trying to spend the time and as much as I can and focus on myself.
thank you so much, Enes, for coming in, and we hope to talk to you in better days.
Sure.
We would like to personally thank Enes Kanter for joining us on our podcast. We wish him and everyone else to stay safe and healthy. Our special episode has come to an end. We will continue to host more professionals in the upcoming weeks. Cup of Chai is a podcast series that aims to provide insight and knowledge to those interested. This podcast will consist of weekly meetings with experts in their fields. As volunteer university students, we continue to present current and educational topics that will be of interest to the environment and the community you are in. We aim to release better quality episodes with your support and feedback. We hope that you enjoy and stick around. Happy Ramadan, everyone.